Hello, hello, and welcome back, or welcome. I am Book Lover Lorna, and today we have my July wrap-up. The books that I read in July. Now, we all know that every month I have to read 8 books in order to hit my 100 book target for the year. At the beginning of the year, I was really good. I was smashing those 8 books out of the park. I was reading more than 8. It was brilliant. I was well ahead of my target. Now, I've had a few months where it's not been quite so good. I've been a bit busy and I've been reading like 6 or something like that. And I've slowly been getting a little bit behind. Now, I think I'm still 1 book behind schedule, but I've caught up a little bit. And in July, I managed to read 8 books, which was brilliant. I just needed to kind of prove to myself that I could read 8 in a month again. So like the last week of July, there is a vlog. I was just like, come on Lorna, you've got to do this. I just had to read because I needed to read 8 books in a month again. We're going to do the same this month. I am telling you now, I am already doing quite well on my first book. By the time you see this, I'll be on my second book. I mean, I don't mean to brag, but I am doing quite well on my reading and I'm going to keep it that way. I just need to be focused. Any available time that I have, reading in my lunch times is proving to be very, very useful. So that gets a big tick from me. Now, let's go through the 8 books that I read this month. Only one of them was a NetGalley ARC. The rest were actually physical copies. So the first book that I read in July was the guest book at Willow Cottage by Holly Martin. Oh, I've read 2 Holly Martin books this month. How good. Now this one is very small. It's only 200 odd pages. It is all written as guest book notes. I don't think that I explained that very well. Essentially, it's like this guest book that is left in this cottage, which is run by this woman whose name I can't remember, Annie, and she writes messages back and forth to the people who are staying there through this guest book. So there is no kind of written descriptions or anything like that. It's literally people's written thoughts. So some people who stay there will give really detailed accounts of what they're doing there. Some people will give really detailed accounts of what's going on in their personal lives. It's a bit TMI at some points. But, you know, Annie, the owner of the cottage, like writes back to them as well. And she will share way too much of her life. I mean, I would never share this much in a guest book for all other people to see. It's a bit incriminating, really. But it was quite entertaining. It was very, very easy reading. And just kind of, I don't know, you just kind of got so intrigued as to how much people were going to share and like what was going to happen. Because part of Annie's like writing back and forth, like her kind of story obviously went throughout the whole book. So it was kind of interesting to see what was going on. Like I say, very easy read. I think I gave this one 4 stars. Yeah, I did give this one 4 stars. So Holly Martins usually are a 5-star read for me, but it just didn't blow my socks off. Really enjoyed it, but I was not like, whoa, that's amazing. So I gave it a 4-star. Next, in July, I read The Lido by Libby Page. Now, this is one that I picked up because I'd seen it quite a lot on like Instagram and other people reading it. Although I don't really know what other people's thoughts are. I don't think I've ever paid attention that much. But I just knew that loads of other people have been reading it. So I was like, oh, I fancy it. And it's been on my shelf maybe 9 months, a year. And I've been meaning to pick it up. And I think this was when I went away, possibly. Or was this before I went away? Not sure. No, I was away at this point, I think. And I was like, oh, this will be a nice one to start. Didn't read a lot of it while I was away. But hey ho. It's essentially about these 2 people, Rosemary and Kate. Rosemary is 86 and Kate is 26. And Rosemary swims at this outdoor pool, the Lido, and it's threatened with closure. And essentially Kate is kind of a news reporter, kind of for like a newspaper. And she goes in and starts talking to Rosemary so that she can cover it in the newspaper. And she becomes very, very involved. Kate and Rosemary become friends. Rosemary gets Kate into swimming in the pool. And it's just such a lovely, heartwarming story of like friendship between different ages, I guess. And I think that the Lido story as a background was just really nice. Actually really made me want to swim, so I've been swimming. That was because of this book, and I am going to continue to swim because of this book. So, you know, in a way, it's kind of inspiring. It just made me think, oh, that would be so nice just to kind of like enjoy the water and go swimming and, you know, use that as a form of exercise. So yeah, inspirational book right here. After reading this one, I will definitely be picking up more Libby Page books. There is one, which I can't remember the name of, but there's a character in it called Lorna. So obviously I'm going to have to buy that one. I think it's only out in hardback at the moment, so when it comes out in paperback, I'll get my hands on that because, you know, we've got to buy all the books with the characters called Lorna in them, just saying. Now, the next book that I read in July was The Beach House by Jenny Hale, which was a NetGalley ARC. I've read a Jenny Hale book before, which I read in... Oh, by the way, I gave that 4 stars. Did I say that? I don't think I did I? Yeah, I gave that 4 stars. It's been a 4-star heavy month. You'll soon see. I gave the Lido 4 stars. Now, like I was saying, I read a Jenny Hale book around Christmas time. I want to say it was called Christmas at the Fireside Cabins, possibly. I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I was definitely like, I want to read more Jenny Hale books. So when I saw The Beach House was up for request on NetGalley, I was like, yes, get that book to my Kindle app now. And I did. So I finally read it, because I haven't been doing much NetGalley reading recently. I need to kind of fix that so that I can get my ratio up even higher. It's quite good at the moment, but we want to get it to like 100% feedback, which would be absolutely fantastic. So this book, The Beach House, is essentially about this woman who kind of, I think she buys an old rundown house, which is a house that no one in the village or town will go near because of the old man who used to live there. I think they think it's haunted or something. Can't quite remember now. And essentially she buys it. She's going to, I think it was like her dying grandmother's wish for her to go and get that house. So she goes to the house and she wants to turn it into kind of like a seaside B&B, and it's in terrible condition. So she has to get a builder. She gets this builder in. He's, you know, a little bit of her, and he's very grumpy though, so she has to kind of win him over and get him to help with the house. And there's things like, you know, a storm and stuff where they have to like batten down the hatches because the house is so old and kind of falling apart that it's, you know, the house might just disintegrate. So it's quite a good story. I actually like the kind of it's not the main plot, but I actually like the story of the fact that like, buy a really old house and then you've got to do work on it to get it up and running as a B&B. Like, I love that idea. I love that as a storyline. And obviously it's a romance story. Kind of the romance was like a bonus in it. I thought the B&B story was like enough in itself. The romance was nice, but it didn't necessarily need it, which is kind of a good thing. You've got that little bit of an extra plus. The book definitely was predictable, which I think a lot of these kind of romance books are. I mean, I've explained kind of the storyline to you. You could probably tell me what's going to happen. It was very predictable, but sometimes you just need that in a romance. And sometimes in romance books, you can't avoid that. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. You don't need to be surprised at every corner. There were like a couple of surprises in it, which was nice, but most of all it was just an enjoyable story. So I gave that one 4 stars. Now, as I've mentioned before, I read the last book in the Cara Hunter D.I. Adam Fawley series without realising that there were more in the series. So I bought some others. I haven't got all of them yet because they're a bit pricey and I've got a lot of books to read, so don't need to be buying pricey books when I've got loads to read. But I was going to work my way through the series from the beginning instead of the end. So when I went away to West Wales this month, well, in the month of July, I mean, I'm filming this at the beginning of August, so last month kind of, but in the month of July, I read Close to Home, which is the first in the series. I was really looking forward to reading this. I really did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. See, it's a month of 4 stars. Like, I feel like I've just handing out loads of 4 stars and not read the books. I swear to you, I've read them and they were just 4-star books. So I read this one. It was really interesting. So this book is about a young girl called Daisy, and she's 8 years old and she goes missing. Her parents report her missing, but they're from kind of the side of the story of the detective group. So it's basically a whodunit, and it's really interesting. I think that she does a really great thriller. So this is the second, obviously, one that I read. The other one was the last one. I know what the cover looks like, but I can never remember the name of it. No, I can't. But this was really good. I did only give it 4 stars just because I don't think it's going to be that memorable for me. Like, in 6 months' time, if you asked me what this book was about, I don't think I'd be able to tell you without checking. But I did still enjoy it. I kind of enjoyed it so much, and I was away with my boyfriend at the time, that he was like, I want to read that. So as soon as we got home, he borrowed it, he read it, and he enjoyed it as well. So that's 2 kind of good reviews there, because he's not a massive reader. But he read this in like 2 days. I think it was 2 days or 3 days. So, you know, which was quicker than I read it. I think it took me like a week or 6 days. So I think he actually read this quicker than I did. So that's saying something. Obviously, a very enjoyed book. Right now, we're going to break the trend because I read a book that I gave 3 stars to. I mean, it's just disappointing, really, isn't it? Breaking the 4-star trend here. So this is An Almost Perfect Holiday by Lucy Diamond. This is quite a chunky boy. Now, it was kind of enjoyable, but at the same time, not a lot went on within this big chunk of pages. It wasn't my favourite Lucy Diamond book in the world. It wasn't by any means the worst. I started it being like, oh my god, this is going to be amazing because it's got a Lorna in it. And like I said, you just don't get Lornas in books very often. I think I've got 2 books. The other one I haven't read. I think it's called When the Light Gets In, something along those lines. So I was like, yes, it's got a Lorna in it. This is going to be a winner. It's essentially this older couple have these holiday cottages that are right by their house, I think, and they have obviously loads of people come out and rent them, and it is about the individual families who are there to rent them at like one specific time and how they kind of mix. It got really confusing because there's an awful lot of characters, and it took about 100 pages or so for me to kind of figure out who was who and who was part of what family. So I think it would have benefited from individual chapters that are like titled the family name maybe, because it was kind of a little bit messy, and I did find it a little bit confusing at times to figure out who was who. But yeah, like I say, it's a lot of pages. I think it was like 450 pages. Yeah, 450 pages. And I just don't feel like a massive amount of storyline happened. There were a couple of the family storylines. There were obviously loads of different storylines all happening at the same time. And I just kind of thought that like one of them would have sufficed, and you could have gone into a great detail of it. Which one was the one that I thought? Olivia, I think it was Olivia, who kind of lived down there when she was younger, and then she ends up going back to the cottage. So her kind of past, I think she could have had a book all on her own. So yeah, it wasn't my favourite in the world, 3 stars, but it also wasn't the worst. It was kind of enjoyable, but just like a little bit confusing and disappointing because like it had a Lorna in it and I wanted it to be amazing. Although the Lorna in it was really nice, so you know, obviously she's just like me. Again, another book that I enjoyed, but it didn't knock my socks off, so I gave it 4 stars. This is literally the logic of my thinking. Song for a Whale by Lynn Kelly. Now this one has been on my shelves for a long time. Probably, we're talking maybe 3 years. I bought this when I was in uni, which I definitely didn't buy in the last year of uni. I think it was like 1st or 2nd year. So I mean potentially we're talking 4 or 5 years. I don't think it was that long ago. But anyway, it's been on my shelves for a long time. I've always meant to pick it up. And I just never have because I didn't really know what it was about. I just thought it had a pretty cover, which it does. Like, I'm not lying. It's a very pretty cover. It's only 300 pages. Wow, what was the noise that I just made? It's only about 300 pages. It's essentially about this girl called Iris who is deaf. She obviously can't communicate in the same way that people usually would. She has like a translator for school who can speak sign language and explain what people are trying to say, but she can lip read a little bit as well. Obviously that's not the best form of communication because it's not the easiest. People talk differently with their mouths, and some of the kids in school try and do sign language to her, but they don't actually know what they're doing, so they're just kind of making it up and saying really stupid things. So it's obviously quite frustrating for her, and she hears about this whale who cannot communicate with other whales because his pitch is at a different frequency. So she's kind of gets super interested in this whale, and he kind of wanders the ocean alone because he can't make friends with any other whales and become part of any other whale pods. So it was really kind of cute to see how she could relate to this whale, and I don't know how to explain it. I just thought it was a really nice, like, heartwarming sentiment, and like the fact that she could kind of relate to him and she wanted to help the whale because she thought that, you know, they were on the same wavelength essentially. I read the first 20 pages and then the next day I continued to read the book, and the first 20 pages I was like, whoa, this is amazing, I'm hooked. And then I had to put it down, and the next day it was still really good, but it didn't knock my socks off in the same way that it had in the first 20 pages. It did start to get a little bit slow. So I don't know, maybe it's not the longest book in the world, so maybe it needed padding out a little bit. Not sure. As in padding out with more storyline, not because obviously I just said it's slow, it doesn't need more padding out, more story in there. But that's why I ended up giving this 4 stars. The whole book I was like, 4 stars, 5 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. And then I was like, it's not one that I necessarily want to read again. So it ended up with a 4 star. There's a lot of 4 stars at the moment. You'll never guess what, but I did give out 1 5-star this month. And that was for This One Summer by Gillian Tamaki and Mariko Tamaki. This is a graphic novel. The last graphic novel that was on my shelves, so I now need to go and buy more graphic novels, but I've got so many books to read already. Shouldn't really be doing that. But this was really, really good. I read this in like 45 minutes, as you do with a graphic novel. Just sit, focus on them, fly through them. This is essentially about this family and the summer of kind of going to this house that they go to every summer as a kind of like summer trip. I was quite amazed, considering it's a graphic novel, you can't get an awful lot of detail in there. I was quite amazed at how much how much emotion the authors managed to get into the pages of this book. It's a 300-page graphic novel. Graphic novels, you don't have a lot of writing on each page. There's, you know, I mean, this page has 1, 2, 3, 4 words on this page, and the words are cool, shh, and come on. There are some pages with more words on it. That was just one that I picked with all the speech bubbles and such. So you don't get a lot of words for your 300 pages, but they did such a good job of packing in so much emotion. Like, it didn't make me cry because there's not enough detail in a graphic novel to make me cry, but it did make me a bit choked up. I was like, oh my god. So loved this, 5 stars. I thought it was really powerful actually, and I think it's a one-off. I would really like to see more like summers from this family, and maybe like the summer after, or kind of like 5 years down the line or something. I think that would be really cute. Or maybe like see them in their home, maybe winter time, I don't know, I'm just thinking seasonal. But yeah, 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed that one and definitely recommend it. The last book that I read in July was 100 Proposals by Holly Martin. So 2 Holly Martin books this month. Very good going. They are kind of more summary reads generally, I feel. But this one was not too big either. This is 300 pages. I went through it in a couple of days. I read quite a lot of it in my lunch breaks actually. It was very enjoyable. Again, didn't knock my socks off, but it was really nice. It was such an easy read, literally so easy to fly through. So this is basically about 2 best friends, Susie and Harry, and they run a proposal business together, where essentially men who want to propose would go to them even, and they would be like, I want to propose, I don't know, in a hot air balloon over the white cliffs of Dover, and I want there to be a sign on the grass that's like, I don't know, 100 meters wide that says, "Will you marry me?" That was the most random thing, but in the book there is a hot air balloon one, so that's why I thought of that. I don't know why I thought of the White Cliffs of Dover. I've only seen them like once or twice. Random. But anyway, then they would kind of put those plans into place and obviously charge the man, take his money, and put on this amazing proposal. Backdrop even, because they're not the ones proposing. So it was really enjoyable. What happens is that as a PR stunt for kind of marketing purposes, Harry decides to propose to Susie for 100 days. Now, Susie has a thing for Harry and Harry has a thing for Susie, but neither of them will admit it to each other. So he's proposing to her, she's kind of being like, this is amazing, whatever. And he's kind of secretly hoping that she's gonna, like, genuinely say yes. But she's like, oh, he's breaking my heart doing these 100 days, this is torture, blah, blah. So it's very much a, come on guys, like, you just want to go and bang their heads together and be like, just communicate with each other, please. Like, use your words and we can have a happily ever after. So it's kind of like that throughout the book. Like I say, very easy reading, flew through it, and I would recommend it, even though it didn't kind of knock my socks off. It was just so lovely. So definitely recommend that one, 4 stars from me. So those are the 8 books that I read in July. Well done me for finally getting to read 8 books again. Fingers crossed I can do it again this month in August. It's gonna happen. I just need to stay committed, read all the time, and I'm sure I might be able to do it. We'll see. I want to kind of read a couple of hardbacks this month, so I don't know if that's going to help, but no excuses, no excuses. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. Happy reading, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!